You're watching Analysts After Dark, an underground hideaway where insatiably curious analysts examine provocative project problems, share salacious secrets, and establish a covert network of co-conspirators. Step into the dark with your hosts, AJ Hawley and Steve Jones.
Well, hello there, Steve.
AJ, how you doing?
Fantastic. Not really. I've been a whole week of just complete work around the house, trying to figure stuff out. Like my car battery died, AC went out last night. I was trying to fix a washer and changing all sorts of stuff. So it's been like a very hands-on, engaging week, I think.
So a handsy week for you.
Yeah, okay. And luckily for me, there are about a billion different YouTube videos that show some person going in and it's like, here's how to remove this one thing. And it's like super specific. So that's been great. It's definitely been a learning curve as well. So I'm using all parts of my brain this week. How's your week?
It's hot.
It's hot. That's fair.
But I'll agree with the YouTube videos. I've used it for fixing the refrigerator, the dishwasher, snowblower, all kinds of things. And it's amazing how people will video themselves doing all kinds of stuff. And a few months later, it's found useful.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting, too, how much service or technician work is out there. Professional videos for technicians, by technicians, and you just get to reap the benefits of that. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. Getting the tools and the parts is a challenge sometimes, though.
Yeah, I had that experience a little bit. So I changed the wrong part number and you got to, swap it out, et cetera, return it. But, other than that, it's been a challenging week, but it's been fun. It's been fun always testing and learning something new. I think is one of the challenges to just being an adult, really, but even just an adult now with how fast things change, how fast things are consistently evolving. I did a presentation last week in Toronto for administrative professionals. And one of the questions that I got was, how do you stay current? How do you stay relative? And my answer, cheekishly, was, I don't, and I got a couple chuckles and whatever, which was funny. But at the same time, I'm kind of only half joking, right? It's hard to stay up to date on all the things that are changing, especially with today's topic, AI.
And if artificial intelligence is based on a lot of what's on the internet, like Reddit, how intelligent is it?
Yeah, half and half. I don't know. We'll see. It depends on where it goes. Because I've been a part of some subreddits that it definitely killed some brain cells. But then, I've learned in others, so who knows?
I haven't found the useful ones yet.
Oh, I'll give you a list after this of both.
Excellent.
But I think that's a fantastic question for today's guest. So Dave Shaffer is a senior product manager and business analyst who is motivated to create innovative AI solutions to make a positive difference in the lives of patients. Dave has dedicated his career to continuously learning the latest technologies and applying them to develop cutting-edge products that improve patient outcomes and streamline healthcare processes. His goal every day is to accomplish three things: learn something, teach something, and laugh. So let's welcome Dave.
Welcome,
Hey,
Dave.
Dave. How's it going?
All right. How you guys?
Doing fantastic.
Yeah, that's good.
So glad you could make it.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's been a while since we've had a chance to chat. You've had, I think, two different careers since we've talked recently, I guess, or the last time we talked. You were
I've been
making soup for a long time.
That was a short time, gig helping out Campbell's Soup for a little bit. But I primarily have been in the AI digital transformation space for the past 8 years, just trying to stay up on top of the latest technology. And now with AI just taking off, the past 4 years, I've just been really, heads down in that creating commercial products in pharma for clinical trials using AI. So that's where I've been. That's where I really enjoy to be.
Well, awesome. Well, we start out our shows sometimes asking our guests what their favorite after dark activity was. So I'll give you a chance to either provide one now, or I can read what you provided us earlier. So that's up to you.
Oh, no, I like to just kick back with a drink. It's normally a Jack and Coke with lime. And I'm living down on the New Jersey shore right now, right on the water. So, yeah, I'd like to just pour a drink, sit out back in the nice weather, and relax for a little bit.
Awesome.
Nice.
And I understand you also do photography.
Yeah, I do. Yep, I landscape and wildlife photography. So it gets me out in the wilderness where I can disconnect. No cell service. It's kind of nice, and just hike around and forget everything for a little while. So yeah, you can if you want to see some pictures of bears in the Jersey Shore, I'm a goldenbearphotography.com. So there's my
Okay.
first.
We'll add that to list.
References. Golden Bear Photography, you said?
Yep.
We'll definitely take a look at that.
All right. Well, so this is what Dave says, right?
Yep.
Awesome. We'll definitely check that out. Are you concerned that AI is going to take over your photography job?
No, it is a big topic in the whole photography world because you can just write some prompts and you can create a sunset with a lighthouse and crashing waves, and it looks pretty great. I don't think it's going to replace the actual human going out and waiting for the perfect conditions and creating something with a camera. Where it is going to impact, it's going to impact product marketing. So it's going to impact the product photographers, the people that you hire to come in, set up the lights on the table, and get
Sure.
that perfect image of the coffee mug. I think they're going to have the biggest challenge because corporations are just going to, use a tool, write a prompt, and get the image that they want. I mean, I'm doing that now. I write a LinkedIn article and I just use Midjourney, and it does one heck of a job.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it's going to necessarily stop people like me from going out in the woods, tracking a camera around, because that's 90% of the fun. If I come home with a photo that I took and I like, that's a bonus. But yeah, it'll definitely impact. It's impacting photography now. The wedding photographers and portrait photographers. There's generative AI fill, that you just type a prompt saying remove blemish on left cheek, and it does it. So, I think AI is going to make some photographers, more productive, and it's going to impact some more severely than others.
It's going to bring the cost down a little for some.
Yeah.
Or they're going to go out of business.
Yeah, it depends. I was actually just talking to a guy who's a portrait photographer here down the shore, and he's booked solid every day the rest of the year. Trained an assistant who's also booked solid every day the rest of the year, and part of it is because they have these new AI tools set up where it helps him process the 2,000 photos that he takes. When you take engagement photos, right? I mean, the couple has high expectations, so you typically come home with 2,000 plus photos, and you're giving them 15 that they're happy with. Well, AI is now helping them process those 2,000, edit them, so they're now more productive and they can book more business.
Because that takes a long time to get through all those pictures.
Yeah, it used to be literally manually just clicking a button, going, through all 2,000. But now Adobe's put AI capabilities in Photoshop and Lightroom, and some of the other photography vendors have it. You can set up your preferences and just cull through 2,000 images pretty quickly.
Yeah, it
So
definitely helps my garbage photos.
Yeah,
I take, and then it's like, oh, look at that, that's not half bad.
that's a super productivity improvement.
Yeah, and that's the kind of productivity that you're seeing with AI when it's done well. You're
Yes.
going to get those productivity improvements.
So talk about that for a second. So you've been a product manager, a business analyst. Now you're a practice manager. So you kind of been in different realms of the IT space. How do you
Mhm.
see AI impacting the roles that you've had, but also the roles that you are kind of moving into and coaching into?
Yeah, so it's a huge impact. I don't think most people have realized the magnitude of the impact just yet. If you're in product management, business analysis, if you're a leader, in a company, you really have to understand what's coming, what the trends are, and and stay ahead of it. For example, there's a clear trend right now uh, where AI is evolving to the point where you just tell the computer what you want and it delivers it, right? So for example, there's sites out there that they're not really full production sites or applications, and they're probably not going to make millions of dollars, but they're really great proof of concepts that show, for example, WebSim AI is this website that was created. You type a prompt and you have a full-blown website. It literally creates it. So I was just playing around with it and I was kind of blown away by it. You can, there's applications where you can just type in a prompt and create music. There's applications that you can type in some prompts and create a, fictitious pop star, for example. So if you think about it, you put all those three things together, you can write some prompts, you can create a song, have this fictitious pop star sing it that you created with prompts, and then you can go to this website and you can create a full website for that new pop star, right? You know, merchant, sell merchandise. You can do all that stuff, and you can do that now in a weekend, right? Um, so if you think about that, you think about that's the kind of thing that's coming. Um, you know, if you're in product management, if you're running a company, you have to know what the trends are, and you have to look forward and get prepared so that you don't get caught flat-footed.
So how do you
On
keep
the Go ahead,
ahead?
Steve.
How do you keep ahead like that?
It's actually it's quite a bit of work. I try to automate as much as I can. I have a number of sites bookmarked. I'm actually using AI to help with that. So I've created a custom GPT that I've put the sites that I want to monitor, and you know I can't run it autonomously yet, but that's also coming. But just literally run it in the morning, and it gives me a breakdown of the 10 most relevant um, news pieces in AI and breakthroughs. So you can use AI to help stay up on it, right? Um, and it's just while you're drinking your morning coffee, you can see what's happened, overnight. Um, but it's moving so fast, it's really difficult. There's so many models, and they're all advertising that they're beating the latest benchmark, and you have to say, well, okay, what does that mean? And so it takes a lot to stay up on it. But I think the important message is, it's really going to drastically change product management, BA, all the corporate leadership. They have to be seeing what's happening, right? And understanding, what the next direction is.
So I can see the benefit in like a product management role where you're going in and say, give me the latest statistics on this one like, in my industry. What are the top three applications that do what I do? Or what are the
Mhm.
other vendors that provide services? Who's somebody that's disruptive in the space? So that way you're going out and getting some of that new information without having to hunt it yourself. And now you can validate versus having to start from scratch. But
Yeah.
as these items are changing, they're changing overnight, right? So
Mhm.
you have a new version of ChatGPT out. You've got a new version of some of the other big players. What's the Google one that I'm blanking on?
Gemini.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so you have all these different variations of that. So how can you trust that the data that's being brought back is not only accurate, but it's something that you can base business decisions on?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. And especially with, there's a general benchmark right now that says that on average these models hallucinate 19% of the time, right? So it is an issue, but there's ways that you can mitigate that issue. The hallucinations tend to get worse the longer the chat goes on, because the model just starts to fill in the blanks in the conversation, right? And that's getting better. ChatGPT has rolled out the memory feature, so it now remembers every single chat that you've ever had. So that's also cutting down on some of the hallucinations. But you're absolutely correct in that use case. If you're a product manager and you're not using it to do your initial market analysis, you're wasting time, because your initial market analysis has always been researching the publicly available info, right?
Hmm.
So it's now you can use an AI model to do that initial market analysis for you, right? Tell me who the competitors are. Craft a great prompt to get all that information back, and then go from there. I think it's a mistake thinking that you can't use AI because it's not 100% accurate. It's a creativity enhancer. Um, the best way to explain it is these tools are probabilistic; they're not deterministic. So they're giving you the in all probability, the information that it's giving you is correct and accurate. And when you're doing initial market analysis, that's no better than you would do manually, right? You would
Fair.
manually you would probably miss a couple of competitors just because of your Google skills
Nice.
or for your bias or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that's the key is to understand that it enhances your creativity, and it's really not meant to be perfect. Not right now. So that shouldn't be a barrier to you using it, because if you're a product manager and you're not using it for your initial market analysis, then you're going to be behind the person in your group that is.
So we've heard that AI is susceptible to bias.
Mhm.
How can, as a product manager, how can you try to mitigate, what steps can you take to try to mitigate some of the risks associated with that bias?
Yeah, that's also a great question. So one of my favorite uses of these models is to well, first consider that it's an assistant. It's your personal assistant, and it's your personal assistant that has knowledge of practically everything. And asking it to be a skeptic is very useful. So once you get that result back, you can ask the model to be a skeptic and say, play devil's advocate, uh, criticize your response. Tell me where it could be improved. Tell me how much confidence you have in the response. And now you're having this conversation, with the model, that is helping you uncover that bias or helping you uncover where it lacked confidence.
Dang, that's a use I never would have thought of.
Yeah, so it is. That's why corporate leaders should be using it like this. If you have a 3-year strategy, for your company, you should be throwing it into your corporate version of ChatGPT. I wouldn't put it on the public version because then your 3-year strategy is out there. But you should be throwing your 3-year strategy in there, and you should be asking these models you know, to evaluate the strategy, do a SWOT analysis on the strategy, tell me the risks, tell me where it's going to fail, tell me why it's going to fail, so that you have another voice. Because sometimes you're in a leadership position, you might be surrounded with a bunch of people that won't tell you the truth, right? They'll tell you that, hey, oh, that's a great idea, boss. So having using a tool that way, I think can have a lot of value.
Well, you can even do analysis on like AI or with AI, right? So
Mhm.
Gina.ai does like SWOT analysis for you. So you could have
Mhm.
your AI generated do
Mhm.
SWOT analysis using AI, and then you're looking at the results of that versus having to do that work yourself.
Yeah, I just I'm testing a solution that we're building. My current contract, and the way I'm doing it is I'm taking information that's going to be fed into that solution, and I'm using another model to analyze that content and create a 100 question multiple choice exam. With 4 answers per question. Give me the right answer for each question, and give me the page number and the paper, for that answer.
Yeah.
So I can then go through and I can determine that, hey, that is an accurate 100 question test. Then I give that exam to the thing that we're building. See how it does. So you're using AI to test AI.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like Judy says, they've already passed the bar exam, MBA exam, medical licensing exam. So,
Mhm.
we can, it makes sense on structured tests like that, right? Where you have a definitive answer. You've been in the healthcare space. So
Mhm.
how does AI work in that space where answers can be a little bit more fluid and dynamic?
Yeah, so where they're having success with it, in one of the places they're having success is image recognition. So uh, it's gotten very good at reading unstructured data. So believe it or not, AI is stronger with unstructured data than structured right now. Um, so feeding it MRI images, for example, uh, it's out producing doctors that read them. And when you think about it, it kind of makes sense, because the model can be fed 100,000 MRIs. You know, how many MRIs has a single doctor read in their entire career? I don't know, 5,000, 10,000, right? Maybe. So that's where the models are getting an advantage, and not that you would want to trust the model entirely. Again, it augments intelligence, right? That's why I think AI has been misnamed. It should have been named augmented intelligence right from the beginning. But if you take an MRI and the doctor looks at it and they think it may or may not be malignant, run it through the AI solution, and you're going to get a second opinion, right? And a second opinion that is basing it off of 100,000 or 500,000 MRIs that it has seen. So again, the doctors, since some of these models have passed the medical exam, using it as a skeptic and say, I had this patient with these symptoms. I think it's this. What else could it be?
Right.
You know, So again, if you'll have success if you use it to augment your intelligence versus relying on it definitively.
And using it as a skeptic could almost be used almost in an ethical way, because you're not just relying on it for that initial decision that somebody ends up being lazy about. You're actually
hmm
producing a decision saying, evaluate it.
Yeah, and along that lines of that technique is not only asking it to be a skeptic, but using it's a prompt pattern called cognitive verification, right? Where you ask the model a question. And then you tell it, before you answer the question, ask me 3 more questions that will help you give me a better answer. And after I answer those questions, then give me the response. So what you're doing there is you are giving the model a chance to ask you questions that it says will help it give you a better answer. So you're really
Wow.
what you're doing is you're really you're manually creating a query representation layer, which is that it's being baked into some of these models now. Where your query gets rewritten by the model, in the black box behind the scenes to generate a better answer. So that pattern has outperformed so many other patterns that they're starting to bake it in right into the encoding process, within the transformer. So just having it ask you questions, that you then answer, can end up getting a better response.
Sorry, did I hear you say transformers?
Yes.
Are they AI as well?
Yeah, they're more than meets the eye.
Wow. Okay.
Those are autonomous. Not just
Yeah,
artificial.
we're not there yet. No matter what some of the clickbait articles are warning people.
Yeah, I can't trust AI to drive me anywhere. Not yet. Not yet. Although I live in Florida, so it's probably 50-50 at this point.
You mean safety-wise?
Yeah, whether I'm being driven by AI or whether I'm just driving on the road.
Some people definitely benefit from being driven by the AI. I mean, at least AI knows the difference between gas and brake, right?
Sometimes. Yeah, we actually had a story down here where there was a man that was kind of when the first Tesla autopilot came out, and he was driving back from, I believe it was Universal, and he was watching Harry Potter on his screen, and he was in the passenger seat, and he turned the AI driver on, and there was a van, there was a truck that was in front of him, and it was all white. Well, the way that you're going east to west or west to east, depending on which way. And so then the sun's right there. So then the sun was blocking the camera and didn't see the white truck. So he ended up, I think, rear-ending it at 90 miles an hour or something silly like that. Yeah. Like that's the kind of stuff that, I think early adopters are adopting a little bit early. But I understand when we're talking about AI, we have to have early adopters that are using this, evaluating it, taking a look at that, looking at solutions, et cetera. And it sounds like, Dave, that's where you're headed and spearheading some of those larger enterprise projects.
Yeah, it's really experimental, and that's the other piece that I don't think people have really grasped. For decades, we're all we've all been in the IT profession, and for decades, IT projects have been linear. It's define a problem, write some requirements, write some code, test some code, deploy, right? And it's very linear. And the executives want to know, well, what's the date, right?
Yep.
And you can do that. So that I just described linear project management that's been going on forever, right? And even when Agile came along, that was going to be the silver bullet because we kept missing those dates. But since everything was date driven, still, right? Agile kind of just became linear with sprints and some meetings that had different names. So the executives were still date driven, right? When am I going to get it? Well, the AI is going to force that mindset to break because it is an experiment. And, I don't think, I wasn't there, but I don't think Thomas Edison would have been able to tell us exactly when his experiment was going to be done, right? So that's a real mindset shift for project managers. Project managers are going to have to throw away their Gantt chart. They're going to have to learn a completely different way to communicate progress because it's not linear. It's linear in the sense that we're marching towards our outcome, but it is more of a let's try something, let's evaluate it, let's fail, and take what we've learned and try again. So, that's what's happening on the projects that I've been involved in is, let's try this model with this architecture and get some results, evaluate them, and then determine what we need to adjust. Because you might have to change the architecture, you might have to change the design, you might have to change some of the weighted parameters that are affecting the outputs. And it's just really that iterative scientific method approach of experimentation. Now, how can I possibly say when we're going to be done? It makes it difficult.
And with you being on the forefront of AI and application for product management, are there any best practices, or are you still pretty much in the process of developing those?
I think I think everyone's really just adjusting on the fly. You know, you're trying things, you're learning what's working. Uh, you know, with these AI projects, you're not writing traditional requirements, right? You're not creating a UI that has some text boxes and the last name box must be 25 characters. You're not writing requirements like that, right? So you're more focused on what is the outcome that you want and what is the value. The value has to be high enough to go into a development process that is unknown. It's unknown how long it's going to take. It's unknown, with any super degree of certainty exactly what it's going to cost. So what you have to do is you have to choose a project that has a large enough value that you're confident that you can begin. And then as you experiment, you're going to learn very quickly whether you should continue with it. So the key is going to be killing these things fast, right? If it's not going to work, if it is going to work, to have that team collaborate very closely, on doing the experiments and trying something, delivering output, and having people evaluate it. It changes testing completely too. Testing AI applications is completely different because you're not writing those test cases that say, when I click the submit button, I go to this page, right? Yeah, that's not what you're testing. You're testing output, that has been, encoded, decoded, transformed, with all kinds of crazy math, going on behind it. You need a domain expert to look at that response and evaluate it. And it's more subjective, right? It's not black and white of click a button, go to this page, and if you don't, create a bug.
So it's almost like AI projects have more leniency or forgiveness built in than traditional developers and requirements for analysts.
Yeah, it's just really a different approach. It can be a more lenient approach. Yeah, the requirements, you don't have to write these, pages and pages of detailed requirements. You're really more focused on, for lack of a better term, the acceptance criteria, right? Like what are the users going to accept as a response? Because, at the highest level, AI consists of an input and an output. That's what you're inputting some data, and then you're getting an output, and that output has to be confirmed by the people that really understand it. Especially in healthcare and in pharmaceutical sciences, I have scientists looking at the output of the systems that we're building, and it's a matter of, is the output accurate? But the biggest key is, are the scientists happy with the output? Because we're using AI to automate something that they've done manually forever, right? And they're used to it. It takes them a long time, but they're happy with their current output. And now what's happening is organizations are coming to them saying, you know what, we can take a 3-month process down to a week with AI. And you can, but the scientists have to confirm that what you're delivering is accurate, but they also have to be happy with it too.
Yeah.
So
It
there's a
sounds like
whole change management piece.
it sounded like, in kind of to sum up what you were saying, it sounded like what you were saying is we've taken traditional linear development and we broke that down into agile, which was smaller chunks of work that we were able to deliver quicker and to test, to theorize, and to explore, but not having to wait 2 years to do that, to be able to do that in from years to months or weeks. And now we're at the point where we're taking that months or weeks and we're changing that to days and hours with AI, right? And so
Yeah,
being able to explore them.
potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, potentially if you're set up that way, right? If you've got, you got a team with a data scientist, and you've got an architect, and you've got some Python developers, and you have a product manager, and your SMEs are engaged, then yes, you can. It can take, if you have to re-index your data, or you have to retrain your model, if that's what you're doing, if you're training the model or fine-tuning it, that can take days. But yeah, literally that's the time frame. So you can get some output, get some feedback, confer with the data scientists and the machine learning engineers, tweak some parameters, try it again, and now you're getting more output. So it does place some more, or a different burden, right, on your business SMEs, because traditional IT development, you can leave them alone for 2 months, and then bring them in for a week of UAT, right? With this, you're delivering output much faster that they need
Yeah.
to check out.
Well, I think that's fantastic information. That takes us now to our next segment. People can ask you questions, Dave. And so we've asked you questions. Now people can ask you questions directly. So let's stay tuned for the BA hotline.
Let's eavesdrop on the BA hotline and see what provocative project problems are awaiting us. Is your project in hot water? Operators are standing by. Ooh, that's hot.
All right. So the first question that we have comes to us from Leslie. And she asks, privacy is still a big issue. Can we trust AI with its data, especially in healthcare and other compliance-based industries? Before you answer, I'm going to go ahead and say no. And only because security is a massive issue right now. And it's not even AI. It's just security in general. Cybersecurity is, I think, one of the, I don't even want to say, like, it shadows AI in the level of importance, the infrastructure needed to happen, and just the level of change factor that happens daily. I think, it's a persistent arms race that will never end. It's not even AI that is the culprit there. It's just the fact that cybersecurity changes every day, and it's a continuous arms race. And then, so that's my take on it, Dave. I'll let you be the expert.
Yeah, no. So I agree with what you say. AJ, it's your data is never safe, right? There's a hack or some kind of leak all the time. But I can say on the commercial healthcare products that I've had the pleasure of working on and helping to deliver, the data coming out of these EMR and EHR systems it goes through a de-identification process. So the products that I worked on, we were getting data feeds of real patient data, but it's completely de-identified. So when you go to the doctor, you are just an MRN number. The doctor, of course, has your PHI, but the data that's actually going to these AI medical solutions is de-identified. It's just a numeric number, and we're using that medical data to match people to clinical trials, to do diagnoses, to complete case report forms, do all that kind of manual, tedious things. So there are organizations like Concert AI and some of the others that if their data leaked, you're mostly getting a bunch of de-identified information. So that's my answer to the privacy in healthcare. I mean, it's still a risk. It's definitely a risk.
Yeah.
It can be leaked. You can have people misuse AI too. If you're going to take personal data and you're going to put it into your own personal ChatGPT account, you just send it to Microsoft. It's out there. You're going to help train their model with it. So people can make mistakes.
Well, if that's the biggest concern, I know that you can create some of your own, both in the Microsoft space and now in ChatGPT. you can create your own isolated LLM, so a large language model, where you are going in and having it do things that, but then you host it yourself on your own systems, etc. So if you have an air-gapped computer, so a computer not hooked up to the internet, and you were able to take some of that, put it there, you could, in theory, be super secure in that because it's not connected to the internet. So therefore, anything that happens there would be much more secure than it would be if you were, taking that and just as you said, putting it into ChatGPT or Perplexity.ai or Copilot or any of the other new products that are out.
Yeah, that's how Microsoft is setting up their enterprise accounts. It's ChatGPT running in a private Azure environment, and that enterprise ChatGPT actually has some different or has fewer features than the lack of a better term retail ChatGPT. It's still pretty powerful, right? But it doesn't have code interpreter, for example, so it's not going to let enterprise employees run great code, right? So I get that, right?
Right.
So yeah, it is set up in their own enterprise account. Still doesn't make it perfectly secure. Somebody could hack in or leak it somehow.
And Microsoft themselves is not even impervious to hack. So they got hacked a couple times. Actually, even when they just acquired a large portion of OpenAI. So I think they own 49%, if I'm not mistaken. So they bought half the code for $10 billion or whatever it was. And so then after that, they were training their AI models and they were using everybody's data, to help train it. And so then they ended up getting hacked there. I think they also got hacked on their source code was taken. So they're kind of responding to some of that and have pulled back a little bit on their Copilot offerings because they're looking at their own security, and cybersecurity is a big issue for them. So they are reinvesting in those aspects because it's been been hit so hard by this.
Mm-hmm.
So if those big players are, and we read about it every day. So, XYZ hospital system got hit with some sort of malware or whatever. So, someone's locking up their system so they can't ransomware, they can't do anything. There's hospital system A, B, police systems, municipalities everywhere, right? So that is a threat perpetually.
Yeah, well, United Healthcare got hit not too long ago.
Yeah.
Millions of records. So, I mean, all my information is out there. It's all out there. My credit reports are locked down and frozen because of it. So it's to your point, AJ. It's 24/7, 365 constant battle.
Equifax got hit a couple of years ago. All of our socials are gone. Our credit history is there. 23andMe. So now you got your socials, you got your DNA. You match that with insurance stuff, and I feel like we have an opportunity for private healthcare to really step in and see all that information, right? So now if you took all that data and you paired it together using AI, because now I can look at potentially swaths of that non-serialized or obfuscated data, and I can say, well, I understand factors here, I understand these other factors, and then I can use AI even to connect those two dots. Right?
Yeah, who knows? With all that info plus 23andMe, I can type some prompts and create another AJ.
Oh.
A better AJ? Is that
Can
possible?
I have his liver? I feel like I'm going to need it.
Yeah, we're going to create AJ a liver.
That's all I need. Just an extra, just a parts.
Just plug it in.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about, fixing the washing machine earlier. I needed like a YouTube video of that where it's just like, you just swap out the parts real quick and then we're good.
I mean, insurance companies with DNA data could make risk mitigation, risk classes a whole lot more interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So talking about the credit risks, I'm dealing with that from last month where I apparently applied for 8 different credit cards. Tried to get a car, and what else was there? I think that's it. But
Well, congratulations.
yeah, but it not me at all. So it's a lot of fun to deal with, and there's not a whole lot of things you can do with it.
No, I think that's happened to everybody at this point.
I don't have any notices yet, but I feel like it's there. It's coming.
They start as letters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure how comfortable we made. Not sure how comfortable we made Leslie feel about her question, but
probably not at all.
Well, I think we confirmed the fears.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So well, yes, don't trust it.
All right, here's another question comes in. In terms of security and privacy, are you seeing more AI techniques and tools being interfaced with SEMs? SIEMs?
I don't know what those are.
I'm not sure.
I'm not.
Quick to the Googles.
Yeah.
Who is that user?
I mean, there are so there's a bunch of different AI techniques.
Security information and event management.
So I mean, there's a number of AI techniques that are out there. Some of them have been around for a while. I mean, the first type of AI is reactive AI. That's been around for a long time. Where reactive AI is AI systems that are rules based and pattern recognition. So they're the systems that are detecting the credit card fraud and calling Steve when 8 credit cards are opened, right? Within 2 minutes. So there's those types of techniques that are constantly being improved and refined on, and there are AI is getting embedded further and further into cybersecurity, and it's going to be embedded further and further into privacy, right? Because that's the other area that is really taking off in AI is the whole ethics point. Is especially big corporations that are risk averse. It's okay. Yeah, we're going to create this tool, but how do we make sure that our great AI financial solution is not rejecting people for loans, right? Doesn't have a whole lot of bias, or is not creating, another security hole. So it's gonna be interesting to watch it play out, but there's gonna be, again, it's that rat race. People are going to be trying to break into these models, break into AI solutions because they're ripe targets. It's new software. So new software probably has the most security holes, especially when it's raced out to market.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Dave. I think that is all incredibly pertinent feedback, and I don't think we have any other questions in our bucket or in our queue. But yeah, so I think that you're right. The privacy aspect is something that's going to be ever changing, and I'm looking forward to seeing how even that plays, like AI plays into the cybersecurity model, where it's almost like doing risk detection and being on the forefront, being proactive instead of that reactive AI that you were mentioning.
Yeah, and that's it's going to be interesting to see how the cybersecurity companies integrate it, right? To make their systems better and more secure. But it is, companies have to play a part in this too, because everyone's racing to put AI into everything, right? It's just this big race. It's like the internet craze all over again. You put slap.com on your company and you're worth $1 billion. So that plays into security risks as well, or the risk to have an embarrassing problem, right? There was just this year, I had heard of a car dealer that put out an AI chatbot. So they raced to get this AI chatbot out there for their customers, and someone who knew enough about AI, spent a Saturday, jailbreaking that chatbot, with prompts. Jailbreaking is a technique, where you can continuously prompt an AI model and get it to go beyond its guardrails, right? There's different techniques to do that, and this person was adept at those techniques and successfully broke the AI chatbot and convinced the AI chatbot to sell him a truck, for $1, create the contract and everything, and he downloaded the contract, he printed it out, and then he drove up to the dealer and said, "I want my truck." Yeah, to their surprise. So it was a it was a huge hassle, for that car dealer, as you can imagine. So, yeah, you have to make sure that you're putting out something that is working well but is secure. And like I said, even though testing is changing, you have to test these things. You have to do adversarial testing and make sure that someone can't make it do something embarrassing, because people will try.
Of course.
You could leverage another AI tool to try it.
If you have any questions, go ahead and visit analystsafterdark.com and check out our hotline, and feel free to ask any of our experts questions, upcoming or even just submit them yourself, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. So that takes us down to our next segment, which is the BA Confessions. So 1 second there, and we'll continue.
And now it's time for BA Confessions.
All right, welcome back. So you were talking about the chatbot and how someone was able to kind of hack that a little bit or play with that. I saw another, it was technically a meme back and forth the other day, and it was asking ChatGPT, how many R's are there in strawberry? And ChatGPT said 2. And it goes, great. Try again. How many R's are there in strawberry? And it said, oh, you're right. There are 3 R's in strawberry. And it says, thank you. Good job. And then it asks a third time directly after that, how many R's are there in strawberry? And it comes back with 2. And so, just like you mentioned earlier, Dave, you said the longer that you talk with any sort of AI, it has a shorter attention span and it will hallucinate more often.
Yeah, that's that's the effect. That has been pretty well proven. The longer that you go, the greater your odds of having it go astray.
So do you see that as it's so eager to provide you with an answer that it's coming up with an answer because it has to give you something, and versus saying, I don't know that, Dave?
Yeah,
it goes,
it tries to fill in some blanks.
Yeah.
It tries to make it sound good, and the hallucinations are typically found in like a 3-paragraph response. They're usually found somewhere in the midpoint or tailing off at the end, where you read it and think that it's not quite right. So yeah, it's you want to keep them short. Try to keep your conversations shorter than you typically would.
So there's no surprise that there isn't an AI called HAL 9000.
You mean this? Oh man, it was supposed to play the sound. I had it. It was. I pulled it up. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be able to, and then it wouldn't. I know, this is a 3-minute video. It's terrible. I had a soundbite ready to go. Well, we'll have to do a new one, right? I think.
Well, next week AJ is going to be replaced with this virtual version of AJ.
You know what? It would be so much better. The show would be so much better if that was the case. Yeah, I'm trying to find the new one, and I don't have it. Steve. What is it this one?
Which new one?
Nope, it's not that one. Oh, there we go. That's That's all I got. That's the new one. It was supposed to be the AI. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. But which is an underrated movie. I feel like I think 2001: A Space Odyssey. It was in like 79. Is that right? If I'm not
Sounds
mistaken.
about right.
Yeah, and Stanley Kubrick actually went and they captured the essence of AI. It learned the entire time from human behavior. It applied that, and then it almost had its own existence, really. But I think that's exactly how I see AI learning from us. Is that we put in content, and then it's taking context and kind of learning from that. Would you agree with that, Dave?
Yeah, well, that's one of the theory of mind AI is a different type of AI. It's like one of the next evolutions where and we're already seeing it. It's where the AI has empathy and it can detect mental states, and you're seeing some of that is being employed in customer service organizations, right? So, the AI chatbot can tell if the customer is angry or happy or sad, and then convey empathy back. So that's another direction that's rapidly coming as well, which is kind of interesting.
So that's my wheelhouse is CRM systems, and so we actually build those where it does sentiment analysis on the emails that you write or the text that you say, or if you're chatting in a chatbot, it will look at that and say, "Oh, Dave used the word pissed, and so he must be angry, right?" And you could have been using it as I've had a couple drinks, whatever, but like context, but because it flagged that, like you're using the British version of the word versus the American side, it flags that as, oh, okay, I see this as angry language, so therefore Dave is not happy, and you can see where it transitions over time, and then during the whole call or whatever, and then at the end, if they started out angry beginning, and then at the end they ended up either moderate or happy, you can track that as a successful call, and then be able to look at that and say this person is doing a good job as a CRA, an agent.
Yeah, there's it's advancing so rapidly in that space too. OpenAI demonstrated their language assistant, their voice assistant, which I don't think people really understand how incredible that breakthrough is. I mean,
Yeah.
they have the latency of voice interactions down to 232 milliseconds, where the human latency is 200 milliseconds. So it's not frustrating. The old technology was very frustrating because it felt like you were talking to a computer. So, embedding that kind of voice assistant technology into customer service is, I can't wait for this. The day that when I try to dial customer service and I'm throwing my phone after 20 minutes because I can't get to someone, and I have to listen to that press 1 for, it makes you crazy.
Yeah.
So that kind of technology is going to change customer service. With the voice assistants and it does translation. I was playing around with that on ChatGPT on my phone. With my daughter, I was having her speak Italian.
Oh,
So it was
nice.
literally just listen. I just literally asked ChatGPT. I said, "I'm going to speak to my daughter, and she's going to say hello to you, and then after that, everything that she says translate to Italian." She doesn't speak Italian, so we're
Yeah.
sitting there having a conversation, just laughing, because everything that she said was immediately translated to Italian. So
I
I
think
mean, just think what that's going to do for customer service.
Sure. I think it's perfect.
As long as it
There was a
doesn't sound
guy.
like Max Headroom.
Yeah.
There was a guy at the APC conference, and he's also done another conference for Project World, Business Analyst World, and his name is James Spellos, and he's talking about AI and showed him in his face saying something, showed Jackie Chan his face saying something, and then now he took that, and then I think it was Cantonese that he was speaking. He was now speaking Cantonese in his face, right? So like James's face. He's like, I don't speak Cantonese at all, but here it is, and now that's it. That's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, think about it. For the first time in world history, there's no language barrier.
Yeah.
Right. So like I said at the very beginning, you have to have some vision and understand what's coming. So if the language barrier is gone, maybe you have in a completely American company that couldn't expand internationally because of that, because you'd have to hire people in those foreign countries. Maybe you don't now, or maybe you won't in the near future.
Well, I think the biggest issue wasn't the language necessarily, as it was converting imperial to metric. And it's like, well, how many cups are there in a quart? I don't know how many ounces are there in a yard. And it's like, you know what? Yeah. So now the metric system just does it, and it's great.
How many ounces in a yard?
Yeah, exactly. So I said that on purpose, right? Because you're like, well, hold on, is it a yard of ale? Because then now that's a whole separate thing.
That's
right?
what I was thinking.
Yeah. Well, there's 3 foot-pounds in a meter.
See?
Yeah.
And that's why we just don't do well. We should have converted in the 70s. Then I would have learned. I'd have done, all of that. We'd be all in centigrade. It'd be great. But here we are with our feet and our pounds. All right. Well, Dave, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you. And so thank you so much for being on tonight. Phenomenal for me just to be able to learn, how things are changing and how to adapt there. What else do you have going on? Like, how can people interact with you? What topics do you talk about? Like, share a little bit about what you have going on.
Well, sure. I mean, I'm fairly active on LinkedIn, posting some different things that I discover in the world of AI that people might find interesting. So connect with me there, follow me there, and, feel free to get in touch anytime. Happy to network and stay connected.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been great. I always enjoy these sessions, and especially when we are talking about nerdy IT stuff. I tend to be a pretty big nerd myself, so I'm happy there. But
definitely.
Thank you again. This has been
thanks
great.
for having me on.
Absolutely. Our next guest we have in 2 weeks. We have Vince Mirabelli coming on the show, and he's going to talk about something. It'll be fun. We don't know. He's a wild card always, and so we'll figure out how that show's going to go. I feel like it's going to be a lot of fun as well.
He's got a stacked deck.
Does he?
Yeah.
All right.
Lots of wild cards.
Vince always has something to talk about.
I agree. And so he's also a big Seinfeld fan. And so then we named the show About Something versus a show about nothing, because obviously it's too much on the nose, but it's a show about something. And then whether or not we determine what that is beforehand or not, we will find out. This is Analysts After Dark saying thank you, and as always, continue being curious
and be positive.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.